So this, unlike most of our appliances, is dealing with the autonomic nervous system that affects everything: heart rate, blood pressure, sweating, smell, taste, moisture, saliva, and mucus. It's just got to be factored in to our work, because we're working with it whether we like it or not. It's there, it's automatic. We're fearfully and wonderfully made, and that system is how we function. We don't think about changing our blood pressure after we are sitting with a patient for an hour and stand up. If it wasn't for the autonomic nervous system, we'd pass out. I haven't thought about how many times I've blinked, but that keeps my eye from drying out and spit coming in. So you can change these parameters more than we ever thought by these appliances, or our dentistry, or lack of dentistry. Imagine what happens then when we take a lot of teeth out, or put teeth back, but say don't put the second molars in there. Why'd God put those in there? Well, you start seeing these patients and you realize that all of this stuff, even that central groove and the first bicuspid versus the size of the second bicuspid, has a big plan for a balanced balancing the oral system, affects the balance in the rest of the body. That connection is between the health of the mouth and the health of the body, goes far beyond the bugs. And I will hold this flag up as long as I've got breath, is that there is more to this than you could ever even imagine, or we know right now. And you got the keys to the kingdom right in your hands, and what you're producing in people's mouths. So you want a smart appliance. You want something that really dentistry, and only dentistry, can manage this. And this kind of appliance looks like almost this phone, but it is not. And the reason is because you take time, effort, and energy to actually learn how these contours affect it. One of the problems that we have is that we've isolated the mouth from the rest of the body, and then only recently have started seeing that, well, wait a minute, there's a connection. So think of the heart. One of the most profound things is that when you adjust this appliance on my body, my blood flow changes in the carotid and the jugular, my heart changes, and also my thinking changes. And my mentor and the man that developed all of this should get credit, is Dr. Farron Robinson in Tacoma, Washington. And one day he had us get shells of our teeth. And so we were asked to take that shell and make a heart out of wax on the back left side with our eyes closed. We had blindfolds. And we carved out a heart on a plain shell. Now, you can take a little pulse oximeter that has the heartbeat and the oxygen level, and say my oxygen level was down at 94 or 5, and my pulse was 80. Usually it's 70, or the average. So now we wax this up, and then he said do it on the other side, and then put it in your mouth. And then we took the pulse ox and looked at our pulse and looked at the heart rate. And then he said, on the left side, make the bulge bigger on number 18 as the tongue comes in, it will hit that and move over to the right side, so then make less of a bulge on number 31 lingual. And all of a sudden we started getting differences in our heart rate and our oxygen levels. And if you chose to, you could do this with blood pressure, you could do it with skin temperature, you could do it with a lot of different things. And then he gave us this thing. I still got it. It's a little beaten up, but I'm proud of it. If you put this on this smart appliance and lay it here and carve that bulge, which is the right side of the heart on the left side of your mouth, and a lesser bulge because of the left atrium being smaller over here, the anatomy starts looking like a real heart. There's the apex of the heart, there's the bulge, there's a bulge, and this is what I call the Dolly Parton cleavage between the two major teeth. I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom. I don't want to leave this planet without you understanding that you're going to directly affect that person's heart, whether you know it or not. So it'd be better to know. And the things that you can do with that are unbelievable. You're not responsible for what you don't know, but unfortunately you now know that, and you should question it. Because if that tongue comes in and can change heart rate and blood pressure, which we are amazed at the impact of that tongue on the autonomic nervous system, on heartbeat, on blood pressure, AFib, PVCs, a lot of this stuff is very much tied up to how that tongue comes in and is swaddled. It will change dentistry, change medicine. You've got the keys to the kingdom. What's interesting is this is the left side of the mouth. If you flip it over, the bulge becomes the other way. The lesser bulge is on the right side. And then the contour, the big contour, is on the mesiolingual of 30. So what you have is the tongue comes in on 18, bounces over on 31, bounces over on 19, and then over onto 30, up and into the mouth. So you're driving the tongue out of the back of the throat, up into and on to these contours. When I don't have this thing in my mouth, first thing that happens is I start clearing my throat. That's a cue for the staff to tell me to put my appliance in, because they know I'm going to get a little frosty later when things start happening and things don't go the way that they should be going. I've got a lot more leeway. I'm not living in adrenaline. Because what happens is when you're living in adrenaline, you bend your head forward a little bit and you change your posture. And we were experimenting yesterday with a lady that has Parkinson's disease, and we had two appliances, and she had her legs crossed and her body all twisted, sitting in the chair. And we put it in, and the cardiac nurse, Renee, said to me she's crossing her legs to compensate for her tongue not coming in over number 18. So I cut the top of number 18 down a little bit so it didn't look like Mount Rainier, and shortened it. And when the tongue came in, after I put the appliance in, she immediately took her leg off and set her feet on the floor and put them both in the same position. So then we inserted the second appliance in that still had the Mount Rainier look on number 18. She couldn't get her tongue over there. She immediately crossed her legs and torqued her body, because that's what felt good and how she functioned. Sleep on that for a while, because what you're talking about is the whole physical makeup, but also the psychological, emotional makeup has a lot to do with what we're doing, because the body's trying to compensate. And so, again, it's all interrelated. You can really, my wife and I had knockdown, drag out fights to the point where she says, "Are you wearing your appliance, or am I arguing with your adrenaline?" Because she's a counselor in a crisis pregnancy center, these gals are all adrenalized and scared to death and having all kinds of trying to make a decision with full of adrenaline. And my point is, it's hard to talk to somebody that's their brain's about to explode with all of the consequences of their dilemma. One way or the other, it seems overwhelming, and they're panting, and they're butt white, and their muscles are tight, and their necks hurt, and their head's bent forward, and they're not sleeping good. And then, you put an appliance in, they still got their problem, but it is not the physical dilemma that they had before. Now they're sleeping a little better. You can talk to them, and they can concentrate, and they can weigh all the choices that they have. So when we're dealing with a person that has a learning issue, and you put an appliance in and the learning issue goes away, we better start looking at that. And the first organ, and the easiest organ to look at, because you don't have to be buying a whole lot of equipment, is how's that body responding? That'll do everything to maintain a higher oxygen to the point of a heart attack. It'll increase the blood pressure. We were